he was saying, yeah, those anglerfish, man, they have this light that produces a signal that attracts people to it. But it's a trap. Mm-hmm. And then they just eat you.
Yeah.
And this was the thing that really did it in my mind, was that Feldspar says, those anglerfish, they're blind. They don't have eyes. They can't see. So what you think is an eye, as you go towards the light, turns out to be a thing that doesn't have an eye. There is no eye. There is just a beacon that gets you to go to a place so that a thing can then consume you and steal your time. Now, I don't know.
Wait a second.
I don't know what that means, but I feel like the anglerfish are maybe a microcosm of the game itself.
Yes, or of what the eye of the universe is.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So
it's...
Hello, Pri. Welcome back to the State of the Art podcast.
Very good.
My name is Mike.
Very good. My name's Kason.
We're talking about Outer Wilds. We got a lot done this week. There's a lot to talk about. There's a couple of things from planets we've already done that I want to quickly go over. So from Buddha Hollow, Tower of Quantum Knowledge. We didn't get to that last time. And then the Tower of... What is it called? Tower of Quantum Trials.
Yeah, that was fun.
That Giant Steep. Two very important things. So we'll get into that, and then the plan for today is to go through the orbital space cannon around Giant Steep, the interloper comet, and Timber Hearth, and then Dark Bramble. We're going to try and get through all those today, which I think will leave us with basically the quantum moon and the end of the game next time. I think we'll basically be able to finish the game next episode, and then move into the DLC after that.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anything else that we've missed or anything otherwise?
Right. I don't think so.
Okay, so let's do Tower of Quantum Knowledge. This one's pretty cool because I think way you're supposed to do this, or the way I think most people will have done this, is you wait till near the end of the cycle when it's going to fall. The tower's going to fall into the black hole because it has one of those like walkways that change gravity so you can walk on the wall, but it's been broken, so you can't just walk into it.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for it to fall into the black hole so that it'll be in 0G at the White Hole Station or near the White Hole Station so you can fly inside of it and read all the things. Mm-hmm. But I found some other people online who did some really cool, a really cool way of getting in there, which is you kind of go behind it and you jump towards the black hole, but you're boosting forward, and it'll basically throw you into an area where you can get inside.
That's
by
cool,
just like flying into it.
But that would be hard, right? Like
it's really hard
to calculate that and to slingshot.
It's really hard, but it is a way in which you can then explore it earlier in the cycle without having to wait forever. And without having to do it in 0G. You can actually walk and like take your time looking at stuff. Not that it takes that long because it's designed to be done at the end of the cycle, and so there's not that much really to read in there. I think there's like 2 scrolls worth of like info to actually look at. So anyway, here is what they say. So we have this grove. So this is the grove observations. This is before, like, when you land, and there's that shard that moves around.
Oh, yeah.
So, message from Plume here. The trees are moving. The trees in this grove wander about freely. The entire planet, roots and all. The entire plant, roots and all. This is not normal, even for this alien planet, and I never see them move. Is this even possible? If anything else witnesses this if anyone else witnesses this disturbing behavior, I implore you to record your observations here. Either these trees are apparent, or my brain must be. As Thatch says, Plume is right, the trees do move. I confess I didn't notice until I read his notes. Alarmingly, it is only the trees. There is other matter in the area, such as that unusual rock shard moving in this in an eerily similar way. So it's not just the trees. Felix says the rock is unusual for another reason too, Thatch. It possesses color and texture I've never seen elsewhere on this planet. Hypothesis, this rock shard presence is significant. We should study it. Could it be causing other nearby objects to move about in this area? This has been true in other places. Like in the caves on the Twins, it's only in that place where the rock shard kind of moves in between different parts of the cave where cacti and other like rock formations move around.
Where they also move too.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So it seems when you're in close proximity to one of these things, its quantum nature sort of spreads to other objects as well. So it's not just these objects, which I'm guessing come from the quantum moon, but anything that they come in contact or near contact with will also adopt these properties.
Cool.
Then we get to the tower description from the surface. Bells, beneath your feet lies the Tower of Quantum Knowledge. If you are preparing to make your first pilgrimage to the quantum moon, descend the steps to the entrance below. The knowledge held within will help you on your journey. So let's try to piece this together, because we were talking about before we even started here today. We feel like the quantum moon's kind of like the last real big thing to do.
Yes.
And neither of us really have put it together yet how to get there.
No.
Yeah.
I know, like, the idea is don't let it out of your sight. Take pictures. Use your camera. Like, shoot the thing out. Take pictures and then, like, fly around it. My idea is I'm going to try to, like, fly around it. I don't know how I'm going to approach it. But they've set this all up for me with the knowledge and the trials and everything. They're, like, basically telling me, you can do this. Go do it.
Yes.
And I'm excited to try.
Yes. So now that we're going to go over some of these things again, maybe it'll click exactly what to do. Because what you're talking about, taking a picture of it, will keep it in place, even when you're not directly looking at it. As long as you've got a photograph and you're observing it that way, it will stay in place.
Yeah.
We learned that in the next thing we're going to talk about in the trials.
But also the idea of quantum entanglement. Once you attach yourself to the moon, you're there, right? It may continue to move places, but you'll just move with it.
Yes. Kind of like the shards when you, in the caves, when you turn the light off.
Exactly.
And you're in contact with it, it moves around and you stay with it, right? Okay. So the tower shard, Thatch's plume, Felix and I have determined this atypical rock shard is the reason objects in this grove are behaving in a quantum manner. Of note, a unique signal is coming from this shard. That's another thing I wish I had known before starting this game, and it has caused me some trouble, and I've had to like go back and do some things. The signal scope is like really important, and you should use it all the time because like
I probably don't use it as often as I should, but
like even when you discover one of the travelers or something, if you don't take your signal scope out and point it at them when you're standing next to them, it doesn't go into the log. That's Rybek's signal. That's Gabbro's signal.
Oh, that's funny.
That's Feldspar's signal. You got to like point it directly at them.
Sign it.
Otherwise, it won't know what it is. So, like for instance, the probes, not the probes, the pods that all of the Nomai like escaped on, they have distress signals coming right next to where they landed.
Yeah.
So I know what that sounds like, but I didn't point my signal scope at it from like 5 feet away. So it was never registered so that it would then be an option to try to locate that same distress signal in dark Bramble
later.
So I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be like looking for a distress signal for a pod in here, but there's no option for that in my signal scope. And I had to go back and like record those. So use your freaking signal scope literally on everything. And the shards are similar. Like I had in my log forever, there's more to explore here in the quantum caves.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? What is it? I've gone here like 10 times and I've read and reread every single thing. Like, what is there? What am I missing? And it was literally just point your signal scope at the freaking shard. That was the only thing I was supposed to do left. So make sure you do that. You might be missing some things just because of that. So anyway, I've gone back and tried to find all these shards again and point my signal scope at it in case I was missing something. Okay. I've heard the same signal this shard produces calling from Giant's Deep, Timber Hearth, and the Hourglass Twins. So the Hourglass Twins is the the one in the caves, right? There's also one on
Yeah.
Giant's Deep, and there's also one on Timber Hearth, so make sure you get those two. And then this one on Brittle Hollow. Suppose there are other shards like this one. Oh, there are. The only other object we've observed displaying this quantum behavior is the wandering moon. I imagine this moon's behavior and this grove's are related. Plume says, in her note from earlier, Felix mentions this strange type of rock isn't found elsewhere on Brittle Hollow. What if it isn't originally from this planet? Hypothesis, the quantum shard is from the wandering quantum moon. Perhaps it is even a small piece of the moon itself.
Ooh, very good.
Yep. I'm thinking that that's what it is. Okay. So now, bottom of the tower.
Okay.
Bell says, be welcome in this place. Above you stands the Tower of Quantum Knowledge. Mm-hmm. If you're making your first pilgrimage to the quantum moon, ascend these stairs and obtain the last of the knowledge you need for your journey. So this is supposed to be like a final hint on how to get there, right? Pilgrimage information. If you're here to make your first pilgrimage to the quantum moon, you are almost prepared to set out on this deeply significant journey. Before you do, pause and remember your history. We make this journey not only for ourselves, but also to honor the members of our clan who came before us. Those who, after the crash that brought them into this star system, became stranded on Brittle Hollow and on Ember Twin, with no communication between these two groups of survivors. These Nomai looked upward from two different planets and saw the same wandering moon visiting their skies. It was this moon, the quantum moon, that kept their curiosity alive during this long period of hardship. After the two divided groups were able to reunite, it became our clan's united goal to find and visit the quantum moon. This took time, and many Nomai who dreamed of seeing the quantum moon died before we discovered how to make the journey. When you reach the quantum moon, recall these Nomai and carry their curiosity onward with you. Okay, so this is the last one. Solanum's mentor. Welcome to Solanum. Your arrival here means you've completed your preparations on Giant's Deep and are ready to depart for the quantum moon. On your pilgrimage to the quantum moon, the quantum moon will carry you, just as it carried me and many in our clan before me, to the moon's sixth and most secret location. You'll be aided in your pilgrimage by the shrine our clan built on the quantum moon. But remember this final rule: to explore the sixth location, the shrine must be on the moon's north pole. To explore this sixth location, the shrine must be on the moon's north pole. So I'm guessing the shrine moves on the quantum moon.
Oh, gosh.
So that's going to be fun.
That's possible. Gosh, you know what? Maybe everything moves on the quantum moon. Everything is constantly
It's going to be
shifting.
crazy.
Oh, that'll be wild. Another thought, too, they're talking about this. Gosh, I thought it was essentially the eye of the universe that is the sixth location, right?
I think so.
But I thought that they never really got to the eye of the universe. So the fact that they got to this moon, and the moon goes there, and they know the moon goes there, but yet they never went there, unless it's just not what we think.
Unless it's not what we think, yeah. Maybe
Right.
the sixth location is that they're talking about isn't necessarily the eye of the universe, but
Okay, this game will be a bit longer.
That
if
is
that's
a good
case.
question, though, because we still don't have all the pieces yet. We have a
No,
lot of pieces of the puzzle, so it's like really starting to come together. But I was under the same assumption that they never actually found the eye of the universe, because that's what the Ash Twin project was for. They were supposed to ignite the sun, which would start the loop, which would allow them to shoot millions of probes over and over and over, record their memories so that they could stay alive indefinitely in this loop until it randomly found the thing. And then they weren't able to make the sun explode, so they couldn't really even get started on the project. And they just decided to go look at the interloper, which we'll get to in a second.
Right.
But so I would assume now, based on knowing that this sixth location isn't the eye of the universe.
Okay.
Otherwise, the Ash Twin project would be redundant. There would be no need to have done it at all.
Yeah.
So
I'm also wondering, we don't know exactly what happened to the Nomai, right?
we know what happened to a lot of them.
We do know what happened to a lot of them.
Well, you mean like the ones in this solar system, or the ones like out, like the other ones that, like the ones that never came
I'm
here?
mostly talking about the ones in this solar system.
I think we do.
I
think we do.
Okay.
But that has to do with ghost matter and the interloper. But
Okay. Okay.
or whether they died before that even happened. But Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, real quick, Tower of Quantum Trials on Giant Steep. So, again, I was looking kind of forever for this, like kind of an embarrassingly long time, being like, I know there's something else I'm supposed to do here. And it was just right in front of you, this giant tornado the whole time. It's like, oh yeah, that's going to have an eye in it. Let's see if I can fly into that thing. There it was.
Right.
So there's a lot of things like that in this game where it seems really, really simple, but you can like really take a long time overthinking things and scratching your head forever. But that's where the location of the 5th island on Giant Steep is. It's inside the eye of the giant tornado.
Okay.
So you go inside of there, be welcome in this place. The tower shares with all who ask the knowledge needed to make his or her first quantum journey. Enter this place without friends, however, these lessons are to be learned for yourself. So there's not like a lot to read here, but the big thing that you learn, and it's really on the second trial. You go into the second trial, and the way that it's set up is there's kind of like 4 different platforms around the room that the arch that will lead you to the next floor moves around to. But the gravity is stronger.
Yeah, you can't just fly
So you
there.
can't just fly up to the platform.
Yeah.
You'd have to walk around the stairs. But by the time we've done that, you've stopped observing the thing that's going to move. So the hint that they give you is observing a quantum object, observing an image of a quantum object. These are the same. So,
Okay. Is it? I don't think it is.
in real life or in this game?
In real life. So this game has enough like sciencey stuff that seems real enough to me to where I'm like, oh, it's based on real stuff. I think they're taking a lot of liberties. The more as the game goes on and we get deeper into this, it's cool. I love it. I just don't. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
I just want to make this quick mention really quick, just to let people know that I've seen it. We've had a few people reach out. Of all the things that I'm probably the proudest of in regards to our work on this podcast is the fact that we get like super high level professionals reaching out to us in like DM saying, hey, I'm like an astrophysicist, or I'm like a high level in like military,
That's awesome.
and I program missile systems back with like Final Fantasy VIII, right?
Yeah, that was
and
fun.
basically it's a complete BS the way this works in the game, and here's why. Like they'll explain it to us, right?
Cool.
So I've had a few people reach out already to explain things like quantum entanglement that we've had questions on. So I'm saving responding to those for like the end of the podcast after we've got through everything and we've had a chance to ask all the questions we don't really know about so that they can tell us more. And then Dude McGuy, of course, is taking notes on comments, and then I've gotten some DMs and messages on Discord, not on Discord, on Patreon and things like that. So I think we'll get questions like that answered at the end of the podcast by people who know better than us. Just want to throw that out there. And I've seen your messages. Thank you for reaching out. Okay, so in the game, though, you shoot your probe, you take a picture of the object, and you're looking at the photograph it took. And then you can walk around the stairs and stop like with your eyes looking at it, and it will stay in place, and then you can go down.
Yeah.
So that's like the big thing you learn from the trials, really.
Yeah.
The rest of them are kind of just like, okay, now use that principle on a couple of different puzzles to get to the end, right?
Yeah, my favorite was walking up the wall.
Yes.
Where it's got 2 crystals way too far spaced apart. You can't get up the whole wall.
Yep.
So, but as you turn and look again, you realize they're moving places. So you've got to get one while it's low and then turn and look until one's like closer to you and then take a picture of it. Anyways, it's
and then
fun.
take a picture of where there are 2 in the
previous
picture.
One.
So now there are 2
that's right.
and then you can actually go up.
That's
and then,
right. That's
then
right.
3 in a row. Yeah. And so you find a way up to the top.
It's fun.
Anyway. You get to the final room. It says, we offer our congratulations. You've learned the rule of quantum imaging. Take this knowledge with you on the remainder of your quantum pilgrimage. Remember, the quantum shards have other lessons to teach. Maybe this is why I don't know yet, because I haven't gone and necessarily used my signal scope on every single one of those things. But I'm going to go try that and see if I get like the last freaking tiny piece of knowledge I need to know to get to the quantum moon. Our curiosity goes with you on your journey. You walk in the footsteps of those who came before you, and your path guides those who will follow later. So that is I guess, are clues or hints on how to get to the quantum moon, which is what we're going to do for the next episode and try to like finish the game from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we do the orbital space cannon first? I actually did this quite a long time ago in the playthrough because I got so curious about what, because you see it explode at the beginning of every cycle.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I was like, dude, I just got to go know what that thing is. So I went in there.
Yeah.
And you can get to 2 of the modules in orbit, but one of them is not there. One of them has crashed onto Giant Steep, and it's gone underneath the current, and it's inside of that like orb underneath the ocean that's all electrified.
Yes.
That's where the third one is.
Yes, that.
So you have to learn how to get in there. And there's several ways to learn that, but one of them is to go to Dark Bramble and talk to Feldspar, who figured it out. And there's actually one of those jellyfish frozen on Dark Bramble.
That is hilarious, by the way. Feldspar's like notes on it. He's got a few little like diaries in front of it, and he's like, "What is this thing doing here? I wonder if it tastes good." And then next note: "Do not eat this. It tastes gross. At least the outside tastes gross. I wonder what it tastes like on the inside."
Yeah.
It's like he's like bumbling through discovering really cool things, but like his initial ideas are just like really bad.
Yeah.
And then he slowly is like, "Oh wait, I'm insulated from electricity when I'm inside the jellyfish."
Right.
But it tastes horrible. Don't eat this. It's really good stuff. But yeah, so, and then at the very center, it's basically like at the core of Giant Steep is something like this.
The third
This
module.
Jellyfish kind of thing. Yeah, but you go inside of it.
Inside the jellyfish, because they are insulated, like you said, from electricity. So they go in and out of this orb, back and forth.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of things you just have to observe for kind of a long time to figure out.
Yeah.
It took me a really long time to figure this out because I didn't go to Dark Bramble until way after I'd even done this. But like, I try to fly my ship into the thing. Obviously, it electrocutes it, and you got everything's breaking down. Okay, you can't do that. And I was watching the jellyfish come out, and I saw electricity on them, and so I just figured, since I had already hit something that was electrified, I probably shouldn't touch them either.
Ever. Yeah.
And then it's like, dude, I can't figure this out. And then you have to watch them for a long time to watch them not only leave, but then turn around and go back inside. And then you go, oh, wait a minute. They're entering and exiting. Maybe, okay, then you start putting it together. But it took me forever because I didn't talk to Feldspar first. I just kind of kept experimenting for a long time and finally figured out you got to go inside the jellyfish to get in there. But anyway, I didn't do that for long after I explored the part of it that's in orbit.
Okay.
So at the start of every time loop, the cannon launches a probe in a random direction in hopes of finding the eye of the universe orbiting the system. The probe's data is recorded and sent to the Ash Twin Project. The project is then able to send the data of the launch and the previous launches back in time to the beginning of the loop. From this, the cannon is able to repeat the probe launch millions of times with new directions, continuously building off of the data gathered in previous loops. So, in the control module, you get Avens here saying, Mallow, my better 50%. We got different Nomai who are getting married and sort of becoming couples at this point. Cassava is sending the last of the cannon components. Soon, relatively speaking, we'll know the eye's precise location. Soon, relatively speaking, because it's a loop that happens for, I'm putting air quotes up here for people not seeing the video version, 400-ish years if you multiply 22 minutes by, but this is all relative, which is what he's saying. No time is really passing. Because anyway, relatively speaking, soon, in 22 minutes, because eventually in this loop at some point, after 9 million attempts, this will find it and send the information back in time to us. We'll know the eye's precise location. Mallow says, the thought of concluding our elder's curious and challenging search increases my heart's temperature, my love. Avon says, Cassava tells me he and the construction yard crew have determined a power setting we are not under any circumstances to go above. Mallow says, I see, and I am right to think that consequently we'll be ignoring that setting. This is what they were talking about if you were down on the surface exploring the construction yard. Avon says, I can posit with nearly 100% certainty our friends have accounted for our nature, so I suggest we do. So these people are just weird. I don't know why they're like determined for whatever reason to just put more power than this thing needs.
Break the rules. It's not like
don't know
you'll
why.
discover the eye of the universe
Faster?
more if you shoot it harder. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I suppose
maybe you could.
the only thing I can think of here is that it's a 22-minute loop, right? So you have 22 minutes for the probe to be shot fast enough to actually get out of the
actually get
system
somewhere?
to the point where it would. Because remember, the orbit of the eye of the universe is really far outside of the farthest orbit. Say dark Bramble, I think, is the farthest orbit from the sun, right? Is that right, or is it the White Hole Station? I don't remember which, but anyway, it's way outside of that. So it's like we got to fire this thing really, really, really freaking hard because it only has 22 minutes to even get far enough to like intersect with that orbit.
Okay, gotcha.
And we got to do that, but we're going to be shooting it randomly and sending it back in time anyway, so it doesn't matter if it breaks. As what really matters is that it gets far enough to actually have a chance to encounter the thing.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing I can think of as to why they would be adamant that we need more power than they're suggesting. But they don't say that. I'm just like trying to give them a legitimate reason to have done this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Giving the orbital probe cannon all the power it can structurally withstand creates the greatest chance of they did say it, finding the eye of the universe. Yes, the probe must travel as fast. They just said they just said it. The probe must travel as fast as it can, as far as it can. I'll make some adjustments.
Right, I see, yeah.
Okay. So, orbital probe cannon put on hold. Casva says, I have some bad news. Avens Yarrow says there was a problem with the proposed power source, so the orbital probe cannon won't be asked to fire. I hope you're pulling my locomotive limb here, Casva. I wish I were, my friend, but no, they aren't certain they can fix the problem, so the orbital probe cannon is on indefinite hiatus. Tell Privet and Mallow they should return from the cannon. My spouse and I will return to the construction yard for now. Avon says, an update. Mallow and I will join you and Daz. Privet left to visit her brother. She fears a day I may feel responsible. So this was canceled kind of the last minute.
Yeah, the whole thing wasn't going to work.
Okay, now I think those are the two. No, that's just the control module. Orbital probe cannon put on hold. We read that.
Yeah, after that point, my notes go down to
I think it's the next
planet to Giant Steep.
Because then there's the launch module. I'm trying to make sure that one's also in.
Oh, was this the one from?
I don't know. Probe tracking. Okay, the probe tracking. Okay, this is still in orbit. Okay. So the launch module is the other one that's in orbit. Avon says, Mallow, my better 50%. Casva sending the last. Oh, wait, did I copy this twice? Well, I think I copied this twice.
Oh, okay.
Here it is. I'm honored and terrified. You won't ask the orbital probe cannon to use so much power that it will break, will you? Fret not, my nervous friend. We only need to fire the probe once. Anyway, so who minds if it compromises the structural integrity slightly? I would mind, Mallow. I would mind because we won't be capable of receiving our probe's data if the probe tracking module is destroyed.
There you go. So even if it does see it, because they broke it, they won't be able to receive the data.
Yeah. Okay, probe tracking module. This is the one that's in.
Yes.
Under the sea.
And this one's crazy because I was double checking. I'm pretty sure this is what it says. It says that you get the coordinates for the eye of the universe here, right?
Yes.
I didn't know that anyone knew where it was except that this is tracking it, right? So the probe that shot has found it.
Yes.
And now we've got the coordinates, right?
And it sent that information back in time to the Ash Twin Project, and the Ash Twin Project now has the coordinates, and it's what was displayed there. So those are the coordinates to where it is. It's already found it, but the cycle is continuing, and it's continuing to fire in random directions even after having found it.
No, I understand. Okay, I think I'm piecing it together now. Okay, yeah. How crazy.
So we'll get to this. So you finally get inside the probe tracking module, which is down underneath the sea. I have exciting news. Privet, the Ash Twin Project, is almost prepared to receive the probe data from the orbital probe cannon. Ramey is adding some finishing touches here, but she'll be finished soon. Are you in the orbital probe cannon? Well, we are. The probe tracking module is ready to record each launch's flight trajectory and will automatically transmit all relevant data to you. Once the probe determines the location of the eye of the universe, I'll send an alert directly to you and Raimi. On the other appendage, I'm now worried about this cannon's structural integrity and its crew's moral integrity. Okay. And then imagine Privet, the probe tracking module, will be the first to know the coordinates of the eye of the universe. You'll be the first to see them. I'm honored and terrified. You won't ask and to use too much power. They keep going over the same thing kind of over and over again. Don't mind. We'll, okay. Eye of the universe coordinates. So you get inside of it. And these are the things you learn, which are freaking crazy, right?
Yeah.
So first recording, receiving data from probe, and it's 9,318,000. But these numbers,
when you
how many cycles you've done.
Yeah.
How many cycles you've actually done in the game, start counting, and will actually add up to the number here, right?
Okay.
So visualizing current, but it's been over 9,310 or 318,000 something times that this probe is launched. Wow. Visualizing current trajectory of probe 9,318 whatever. Second recording, retrieving previous launch data from the Ash Twin. Total number of probes launched. Again, this is based on how many times you've done the loop.
Yeah.
Deep space anomaly matching all known criteria for the eye of the universe found by probe 9,318,054.
And that's the one that we woke up on, right?
I think so. I think
that's the one that we woke up on.
Because I believe that when I did this, I was on cycle 9,318,087 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it was like 30-something loops past this, which I would assume the one we woke up on is probably this number.
Interesting.
I think you're right about that. So, or if not, then it's close. It's around there. So it was found, right?
That's wild.
You go to the third recording, retrieving stored coordinates from Ash Twin, displaying coordinates for the eye of the universe, and it's just these 3 symbols.
Yeah.
Not sure how that's going to come into play. Not sure. I don't. Those symbols don't really mean anything to me at the moment. I'm waiting. Maybe we need to do quantum moon stuff to figure out how we're supposed to use those. But in any case, we know what the coordinates are, at least in whatever Nomai symbology is being displayed here. So that's it for the orbital probe cannon. Basically, we know where the eye of the universe is now. Well, the system knows. We've got to decipher what it knows to figure it out. But it found it.
That's crazy.
And so it's crazy. It's like, oh man, holy crap. We're getting closer and closer and closer. So from here, let's move over to Timber Hearth. Okay. Unless you have any.
So I did Timber's Hearth after doing Hollow's Lantern.
Hollow Lantern. Okay.
So
why don't you go over that real quick? Because I didn't go there, but you said it's really short. There's not a lot.
It's like part of a forge where they make metal stuff. It's just natural heat. They can just use the natural heat of the thing to warp and shape metal and that kind of stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
That one thing I've noticed is that even when these children grow up, their handwriting is still very rough. It's like a permanent feature. Right?
There was somebody else in the comments for the one we just uploaded who was saying that wasn't true.
Oh,
but I don't know. I haven't been taking that much attention to it, so I don't know. They were saying, no, this person's writing as a kid looks this way, and then it's really tight and organized when they're an adult. So I don't know. I wasn't really looking that hard at it. But
entirely possible, but that's what my note says. And I can't remember because this was a few weeks ago I did this one. But this is where I made the note that when you die, the bluish-purple streaks that go past you resemble roughly the writing of the Nomai.
Yes.
So then what you kind of learn here is that they were making a supernova-proof craft.
Oh.
Right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's basically the only thing to discover at Hollow's Lantern.
They were making
something that could
withstand
a supernova. That's Hollow's Lantern.
That's got my brain working now.
You're going to have to go there now because my notes aren't detailed enough.
Why would they need to do that? In case
once they find the eye of the universe, it doesn't help that. Well, when does the loop stop? And when the loop stops,
Okay.
you're still got a supernova to survive.
So here's the thing: in their time, it wasn't the star hadn't reached its natural death, right? Like it is now. So
Yeah.
it's just dying on its own, I think, at this point. But for them, they were going to incite that explosion.
Yes.
So what would have happened was they would have started that process, and the loop would have gone on for however long it took to discover the eye of the universe. But they would have received that, and then they would have not fired the cannon that started the whole thing, and so they wouldn't have needed to blow up the sun. They would have just known where the eye of the universe was. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like that was how they were like justifying doing the research to explode the sun, because they wouldn't have to kill everything in the solar system that way.
Would that break causality if they then didn't?
This is
do
what
the supernova.
I'm
gave them the energy?
actually saying this because this is what somebody in the comments from yesterday's episode was arguing, that it wasn't necessarily this ethically. There wasn't necessarily an ethical dilemma with this.
Well, I remember Idea specifically saying, "Hey, at least I have a sense of ethics."
Yes, she thinks it is, no matter what. But I think what Pi, who was the other one who was arguing the opposite, was arguing was that no, not necessarily. Now, they didn't say it in these words, but his hypothesis is that they could do this, and basically because what they learn from the time, like the fact that you come out of the black hole before you go into or you come out of the white hole before going into the black hole, they could receive the coordinates to the eye of the universe before they've actually fired to destroy the sun in the first place.
I disagree with that. At least because it breaks causality. But so have you done this yet? There's a thing to do, and I think it's an Easter egg within the game. But I was able to go to Ember Twin and go to their their simulator that's like got a black hole and a white hole, and you can like shoot a probe in it, and it comes out the other side sooner than it goes in, right?
Yes.
Well, so I did a thing where I shoot the probe into the black hole, and it comes out of the white hole, but I take out the power source before the probe goes into the black hole to begin with.
Oh, can you do that?
You can do that. I did that.
And it like disappears?
The game literally ends. It says game over and the credits roll. It was the weirdest thing. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I wanted to.
You like broke the universe?
I did. It says the time, the space. It says there's been a rip in the space-time continuum. Or no, that's something like that. I didn't. Okay, maybe I did write it down.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying here.
You've broken the space-time, the fabric of time, and the game's over.
You shoot your probe into towards the black hole.
But you
take the warp core out after it has come through
the white hole,
before it has gone inside.
Yes. And the game literally ends.
So there should be two of them.
There are two of them. You get to see two just sitting there.
Okay.
And then a message flashes on the screen that says, you broke the fabric of space-time. And then everything turns monochrome and gets really weird, and the screen like cracks like it's made of glass, and everything falls apart, and then it like game over, and, and the credits start rolling. And I'm just like, wait, what? I was shocked. I actually did think that was the end of the game.
Wow.
And initially, I was like, oh, I did it. I figured it out. The whole game is trying to get you to like figure it out, and then you can just mess with it. And then I'm like, no, that can't be it. I haven't even gone to these other places yet. I don't think it's the real end of the game.
That's really interesting.
But, okay, so you can't, I think the rules of this game have stated pretty clearly you cannot get the positive results. You cannot get the results of something and never have actually input anything to begin with.
Unless you're in whatever Bramble space is.
Oh, good
because
question.
In Bramble space, you can replicate objects in this way. That's how you find the vessel at all.
You're right,
because you have to shoot your probe through to where it is, but then it's saying there's two of them, some error in like the ship's log saying, hey, your probe is in two places or whatever. And that's how you're able to actually like find the light that leads you to where the vessel is.
That's right. I remember that.
So in Bramble space, apparently you can do this.
In Bramble space, you can, but I always want to call them Kerbals. The Nomai, I want to say these Nomai were not in Bramble space.
Yes.
There were Nomai in Bramble space. They did not fare well. But these Nomai were not in Bramble space.
Right.
And these Nomai, I think it's still an ethical dilemma. I just want to defend this for a sec because specifically they said themselves, what if people get stuck in a time loop, or what if you get stuck in a time loop and don't realize it? Oh my gosh, that would be horrific, right?
Yes,
well,
right.
because of their actions, we've been in a time loop for like 9 million times, or
And
whatever.
didn't
and
realize it,
so
yeah.
because of what they did, we have now done something that they have said themselves. Oh, that would be horrible, right? That would be like hell.
Oh,
or
I see what
something
you're
like
saying.
that.
So
And
regardless, it's
there is
still
clearly an ethical dilemma here, and
dilemma.
even they would agree with me on that.
Yeah.
And I also would also say that that what they were doing not having relevance to Bramble Deep, because they didn't really go there. Well, they did, but the ones that went there died and got stuck. That what they were going to do would have violated causality and all of that kind of stuff. So it still would have been unethical.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The other question I
and
have,
that's why they're making a supernova-proof craft
right.
on Ember Twin.
So the other thing that I wonder too is the loop. I don't know if the loop can start before. Well, no, that's not. No, I just answered my own question.
Because you have to get the energy from the supernova. So if you go
Yes.
back to a time where there was no supernova, you never got the energy. You never did the thing.
But I mean, we have 22 minutes before the supernova is the end of the loop, not the beginning of the loop.
Yes, that's
so if the information comes back to them 22 minutes before the supernova,
Yes.
that could technically mean they could receive the data before initiating it. Whatever they thought how long it would take after they fire their
that's the question right there.
Is it within the 22 minute?
And why did they
window?
have to fire that at all because you're right, they got the energy to do the stuff before the supernova technically happens.
Yes.
And so
they fired whatever they thought was going to make the sun go supernova.
yes.
And when the sun goes supernova, it starts the loop. Then the
Yes.
probe will fire.
Then
and
it goes back 22 minutes.
But it will go back 22 minutes, and they'll just be receiving data
okay.
from the orb.
So
and they'll
then-
go, okay, they didn't find it.
So
Let it fire it again.
I think I get this. So the one thing that you maybe it seems with the rules of the game, the one thing that you can take with you through the cycles is knowledge through the masks. Like you can have the knowledge, right?
Yes.
So all that they wouldn't necessarily be gaining an energy transfer. They would just be gaining the knowledge that resulted from
Yes.
the energy transfer, and that way they don't have to initiate the energy transfer to begin with.
Yes.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense to me.
The data that they receive from the probe will be sent to them before firing the
And
probe.
then they just don't
And
fire
then they're
the
like,
probe.
okay, that wasn't it. Fire it in a different direction this time.
Okay.
Okay, also explode the sun again
So
so that we can do this loop and do this loop and do this loop.
you kill everything in the solar system 9 million times,
But technically you never
but
did.
you technically never did it.
Yes.
But you got the knowledge as if you did it.
Yes.
That's wild. I just have to say, what I know about like Nazis and scientists, that they would have loved it to death. They would have been so absolutely excited about that. They could do whatever they wanted to, and then it would be like, it never happened. They can do it again, or they could not. And then there's still the good guys and totally ethical.
Yeah, and so-
I've got issues with it, but I sort of understand how you can get there.
Yeah, so technically
Yeah.
they would be able to preserve all the life in this system after killing it 9 billion times.
9 billion times.
Then they can
But,
preserve it
you know,
because
they don't remember it.
found out what the eye of the universe is. Now we don't have to fire into the sun and blow it up, and we got the knowledge we needed, and we'll go find that. I think that was their plan, is what he's saying.
That does make sense. That does make sense. So they had a way of doing it that would have been perfectly ethical, except the fact that they set it up to begin with at all is horribly irresponsible, in my opinion,
unethical.
and resulted in this happening 9 million times to somebody with what their description of that situation would be, something like
without
torturous.
knowledge of the fact you're stuck in a time loop. You're stuck in a time loop.
Like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, right? And
But it's only horrible if you know it.
Yes, but in some ways yes, you're right. And that's the whole idea. You can be genocidal 9 million times, but if nobody remembers it, it just never happened and it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's like 1984 kind of stuff too. But there's something funny. I kind of want to keep talking about it, but there's one more thing, which is just setting up the parameters for the experiment to begin with, where you're pointing a supernova gun at a planet, at a sun surrounded by planets with life. I know that they technically found a way to where they're like, hey, it'll be as though it's totally ethical and we can wash our hands clean. But then the question is, what if something goes wrong? Well, guess what? Something did go wrong, and it happened, and now things are all horribly screwed up. So still ethically suspect, in my opinion.
Yet.
And would you also then say that Idea was just kind of confused and didn't understand his plan fully?
Not necessarily. I think it's just a disagreement of philosophy. One is saying, irregardless, or that's not, I hate that word. It's a redundant word. Regardless of,
yes,
of your like mental gymnastics to justify it, it is still unethical.
Gotcha. So she understood it perfully.
I think so.
She still felt,
and
sort
still
of like
felt
I do,
it was unethical.
That it was unethical.
They were saying,
Gotcha.
no, trust me, bro.
They won't remember it. This is like the surgeons used to operate on newborn babies with the assumption that they couldn't feel pain, right? And then it ended up causing all sorts of psychological trauma and all this stuff later on in life. But it's like, hey, as long as they don't remember it, then it's perfectly ethical to do, right? And anyways, they were wrong, and surgeons don't do that anymore.
At the same time, check this out. And this is not a spoiler because we're going to talk about Dark Bramble here in a minute. We basically get a confirmation in the vessel from the modern day Nomai, like from now, that the universe is ending. Did you read that part?
I did, actually, yes.
So they're like broadcasting, saying, all Nomai, stop your nomadic ways.
Let's consolidate.
Let's come to the same place. We found like a somewhat
the black
stable
rock twin stars
system,
and
we're gonna like chill out there, because all these other stars are blowing up, and this is crazy, and like you need to get away from stars right now. And these ones are, we think, okay.
I did see that, and they're calling it the end of the universe, which does mean who cares what you do in the end of the universe?
No, the end of the universe. So having a time loop that gives you an infinite amount of time to figure out how to save it.
Gotcha.
Would be extremely ethical.
It would be more ethical. So it's like
even if you didn't build it with that purpose.
It's like you've got to kill 1,000 people to save 1,000,000 people. Like, do you do it? Okay.
You got to kill.
I do see it.
You got to kill this small amount of life.
It's the
9 billion
it's the trolley
times,
problem, right?
But don't worry, because they'll still be alive to figure out how to save the whole universe.
Oh my gosh!
I think that's where this is going.
It's the trolley problem, except it plays out 9 million times, and in the end, you don't have...
yes. You have to kill the people on that track 9 million times, but don't worry, bro. It resets.
Don't worry.
Until you figure out how to derail the train completely and save everybody.
There you go. Exactly.
It's trolley problem until you can get rid of the trolley altogether.
Until you reverse technology to where pre-trolley times.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Or just erase the train. There is no problem anymore.
Automatic driving, come up with all that stuff. Okay, so I see the issue, and I see both sides now. Wow, that's wild.
Both sides. We both sides this.
We did. Which means we're not allowed to have an opinion one way or the other now, right? Nope.
We're fence sitters,
Not
dude.
what that means.
Filthy
fence.
filthy centrists. All right, Timber Hearth. Let's actually talk about Timber Hearth.
Okay, great. I only took a few.
I loved this because I was kind of flying around the planet, seeing like there's a bunch of geysers everywhere. And okay, so I guess the first thing I found was the seed, the Bramble seed. And there's that guy down there being like, dude, this thing's crazy. What the fetch? And you go fire your... well, the reason I found it was because I was following the harmonica.
Yeah, you told me about this last episode.
Because you'll get the harmonica from multiple sources.
Yeah.
One of them is this Bramble seed on Timber Hearth. One of them is Dark Bramble itself.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I used the signal scope on the Bramble seed on Giant's Deep, but like possibly that could also... be sending a signal from the harmonica. I don't know.
I can't remember.
Maybe not, because I think it's like frozen in ice. But anyway, that's not the point. Point is, I followed it onto Timber Hearth, and I was like, oh, Feldspar is in there somewhere. The harmonica is coming from that. And then I fired my probe inside, and that's where I started the first time to see like, oh, Bramble is like doing something crazy with space.
Right. There's a fractal weird thing where as much as you go inside things, it just ever increases
increasing
in size.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's what's it called, like a calculus idea almost. Yeah. It's no matter where you go, because eventually the Nomai who crashed there, they like trace themselves to a signal, but it's in this like tiny little thing, and they're like, we can't fit in there. Like that doesn't make sense. Like they didn't really understand the situation they were in.
Yeah.
But if you enter in by the proper way, then everything maintains the size. Yeah. I think it maintains size, and I think this is why the anglerfish are so big.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So. Okay, so that's what I found on Timber Hearth. I was like, okay,
yeah, it's crazy.
Dark Bramble, that's where he's at, right? Like this came from Bramble, and like that's where his harmonica's playing. He must be there. This must be some sort of crazy thing that plays with space somehow. Then I was kind of flying around, and I saw the geysers, and I was like, I wonder if I can go inside of those.
The geysers,
so
yeah.
You go inside, and there's a whole like system of water down inside the planet, and you come across what was my favorite discovery, which was the first encounter mural. So the Nomai did encounter our species in some distant evolutionary ancestor version, right? So Coleus says, after closer observation, mining site 2A wouldn't be safe for the native life dwelling in some of this cave's pools. So unfortunately, we'll have to mine one of the other sites. So they're looking for mines to gather resources for their Ash Twin project.
But they don't want to gather too much because there's life here, and they want to see if maybe these guys will explore the stars one day.
Trying to do it ethically.
Yeah.
On the opposite hand, new life. This species is semi-aquatic and very hardy. The ecosystem here is quite robust, so I believe they'll thrive in the long run. Be cautious near the pools if you visit 2A to meet them. Cycad, which is a different guy. I was watching them once during a rest, and the hours escaped from me. They're fascinating. I wonder what their fourth eye does.
Yes, what does their fourth eye do?
I thought that was hilarious.
I love that.
And I think, okay, this line, on top of just being a funny line, does give credence to the fact that the Nomai's third eye is not just a normal eye.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right? Like the third eye, like we talked about in a previous episode, is symbolic of like a deeper, more spiritual, esoteric knowledge, right? This eye sees the deeper truths of the universe that your physical eyes cannot see.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly.
The Nomai third eye, I think this is suggesting does something like that. Because, I mean, why would you ask that question if your third eye wasn't different from the other two?
Right. Good point.
So they're saying, oh, they have this fourth eye. What would that do aside from their third eye and aside from their two normal eyes? What is that fourth eye for?
And I guess them thinking something like, you only need one special eye. Your other eyes would be physical eyes.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
Coleus goes on to say, they remind me of a subterranean species that my mentor Mellorai once told me about from when our clan used to travel across the universe. I imagine she would have enjoyed these life forms greatly. Cycad says, there are a few other cave sites that look promising. What about Site 2B? It shares similar formations and strata. Owena says, this sounds promising. Will you and your mentor investigate? If mining Site 2B proves safe for this native species, we'll move our work there. Cycad says, Site 2B is safe. Coleus says, we'll continue to monitor our activity and its effect on life there. So you go to mining Site 2B, which is another place. There's a whole set of ruins there with a bunch of stuff. Now, I think this is important for when you learn about ghost matter in the interloper, because somehow our species survived that event and all the Nomai died.
See, this is part of the confusion here, because I know what that's referring to, but why did our species not die?
It seems to have...
They were saying when this event happens, it will almost instantly wipe out everything.
Yes. So it seems to me what these lines are insinuating, right? First of all, it's a hardy species. They're semi-aquatic, very hardy, and that if mining Site 2B proves safe for this native species, we'll move our work there. So there's three hints, I think, here about how them being aquatic or being in the water, being a hardy species, just naturally tough, and then being in some sort of place in this particular geologic structure, this site, this mine, somehow protected them from that event of where the ghost matter killed everything else.
I see.
I think that's what protected us and allowed our species to continue thriving, even though everything else was killed. But again, we haven't even gotten to the ghost matter stuff, so we'll return to that in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so inside mining site 2B, and when it says, I'm still amazed by how much ore the Ash Twin project requires. Psycad, isn't this the ore for the remaining towers being built on Ash Twin? The completed towers I've seen are quite large. I want to know, the material for those towers are all being taken from Ash Twin. The ore we're mining here will be used to craft an immensely thick protective shell that will physically seal off the chamber inside Ash Twin's core. This is where I think I haven't been to yet. Have you been inside the Ash Twin project yet? I haven't. It's still a question mark in my thing. So I haven't been inside of there yet. I'm guessing you have to warp in there from somewhere. But they're building some kind of protective shell that will seal off the chamber inside. So that was crazy. Psycat says, if they're sealing off all entrances, I hope they're planning accordingly.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. The puns, dude. I thought you had forbidden your apprentice from making puns, Coleus. How else would he improve? I'm relieved by our clan's decision to use timber hearths ore only for constructing the shell. If eventually life on this planet were to evolve to the point of advanced metallurgy, I'm confident we won't have destroyed their ability to create. Maybe this material also was protective.
Oh, right, and it was just naturally abundant at Timber Hearth.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they're mining this specifically to build this like extremely protective shell of the core of the Ash Twin project.
Yeah.
It is found naturally inside of this mine where is filled with water from these geysers, and our species like developed inside of that. So maybe that's what protected them from the ghost matter explosion or whatever.
Cool.
Okay. Last of the ore. I think this is the last of what's on Timber Hearth.
Okay.
Yarrow says, my gratitude for the latest shipment, Oeno. This ore should be the last we need for the Ash Twin project. Once we've finished, the shell that seals off the central chamber will check to ensure there are no longer any physical entrances. Raimi and I will be checking the interior and then the exterior for cracks. Our final safety check. Oeno says, this is exciting news. Can I offer an extra set of eyes for the final check, specifically mine? If my work here is complete, I'd be delighted to help. We'd be grateful if you would. The more eyes, the better, as the smallest flaw or opening in the shell that protects the Ash Twin project could lead to disaster. So there could be no flaws in this little shell they were building. Okay, then there's like a quantum poem or something. Across old bark, the quiet shade, it's always dark in the ancient glade. And then we have some notes from Chert. I've detected a strange signal coming from somewhere within the grove of the crater. It's very similar to the signal. I think this is the shard that's on that's on Timber Hearth I haven't been to yet. It's very similar to the signal emitted by the quantum moon, so it stands to reason the two signals are probably related. We don't know much about the quantum moon, seeing as no one's ever been able to land on it, but hopefully studying the signal in the grove will reveal more about it. Okay, so that's the end of Timber Hearth as far as I know.
Okay.
Should we do Interloper?
Where's my notes for that? Here we are. Yep.
This was like really hard to get inside.
Yeah, because it's as the closer it gets to the sun, the material on the outside starts melting, and you can only do certain things once the ice melts enough.
You gotta
and
get
then
inside.
As it leaves, the ice starts to expand again. Same problem again.
So you got to land on pretty much. So on the back side of it, so the dark side of the comet that doesn't face the sun, that's where some Nomai landed, and they left I think a pod and like some recordings there. And they're basically like, why did we land on this side? We're stupid. Like, so that's your hint. You're supposed to go to the other side, the side that faces the sun. But it's a very brief moment. Like in the beginning of the cycle, it comes close to the sun, but doesn't fly into the sun.
Yeah.
And all that ice melts, and you're able to very quickly fall through, and then the ice will expand again, and then you'll be trapped inside, basically. But it's a very brief window where you're actually able to get inside.
Yep.
And then once inside, it's filled with ghost matter.
It
There's
is.
ghost matter everywhere.
And you have to probe shoot, like take 4 steps, shoot another probe. Take 4 steps, shoot another probe. Like you've got to use your probes very liberally in this particular area.
Yeah. So if we remember from the end of, like when you get to the sun station, is it the sun station or I can't remember if it's the sun station. Somewhere on the Twins, there's a note that says, crap, I think it is the sun station. We couldn't get the sun to explode. We're going to have to freaking give up on this.
Yeah.
What else should we do? And they're like, well, let's go check out that comet that just showed up in the system.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that before. Let's go see what that's all about. So this is leading to basically the end of the Nomai in this system. They discovered this interloper, this comet that entered the system that hadn't been there when they arrived. And it's filled with ghost matter. This is where ghost matter comes from.
Right.
The ghost matter that we've found all over the place on different planets and stuff like that originated from this comet. That's what they find. And they get to the core of this thing. And basically, let's see. Let me just read what they say. So the spherical stone casing here seems to be the source of the energy readings. No, rather the source is what's within the stone. I'm detecting some form of exotic matter. The stone is muting our energy readings. They should be 10 times what we're seeing at least. I don't think we want this matter interacting with us. As far as I can tell, direct contact with it would almost certainly be fatal. I've never encountered anything like this casing, but it's all that's protecting us from what's inside. Worse still, this matter is disturbingly volatile. Pi, whatever the matter inside this stone casing is, it's more than just profoundly unstable. It's under tons of pressure. Look at the density scan. I've never seen anything this tightly compacted before. What is this? This is orders of magnitude worse than I'd imagined. If this stone were to rupture, the lethal matter within would rapidly expand, completely blanketing this star system almost instantaneously. And the pressure is still building as the comet approaches this star system. Return to the shuttle right now. The rest of our friends need to know they're in terrible danger. Leave the equipment and run. What are you doing, Pi? The more we know about this alien matter, the better our chances of survival. I will learn what I can here. Go warn the others. Maybe they can construct shelter somehow. Now, Poke. So Pi stayed.
Pi stays, and you see him.
You see the corpse.
He's dead body, just kind of floating there.
And before he got in there, Poke's body was up a little higher.
I saw that. I guess I didn't know that was Poke.
Yeah.
When I realized that what I was looking at was Pi, though, I was just like,
I know. That was like
200,000 years later, but there's nothing to decompose. I mean, I guess you do see skeletons, but there's
but those
no
are on
life
planets,
there. Right? Exactly,
where there would be atmospheres.
That's right. That
and
makes
things
sense.
like that. But
with
in
this,
space,
it would just stay as is, especially if it's like cold.
This was the first. Well, I guess it's not the first Nomai corpse because technically, like you said, we've come across skeletons.
Yeah, skeletons.
But this is a perfectly preserved Nomai corpse inside of a spacesuit. And I remember just like coming up to it and just like looking at its face with the mask that we've seen, those masks, and just be like, dude, this is crazy. I've been reading this person's thoughts for like 20 hours or however long I've been playing this game.
There he is.
There he is right there.
Yeah.
Like, what the fetch? Dude, that's really sad. And he's got like a crystal like right through his, I don't know if it's he or she, but right through his face and a bunch of different places in the body. So the ghost matter like obviously ruptured
when
from
it
this
exploded.
Casing, and it seems to have been what killed all the Nomai.
Okay, so I wasn't able to make that connection immediately. I assumed it was still imminent, that it still hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, it seems to have happened.
Okay.
But now the interloper went back into an orbit again, and that casing got back inside of the ice, right? So it's like contained for the moment. But like, some of the ghost matter got out, it killed everybody, and that's what we encounter in random places, is that just ghost matter that probably escaped in this event where the casing kind of expanded or exploded, or the interloper got too close to the sun and it escaped.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so all the Nomai bones that we've seen,
this would have
been the event that killed everybody.
Killed them all.
Yeah, I think.
You know what's funny? our species isn't particularly invulnerable to the ghost matter.
No, we die in direct contact with it, for sure.
So it's just maybe it doesn't go underwater as well, or it doesn't go into the ore stuff, but it wouldn't be our species itself.
No. It's not, because, I've run into ghost matter numerous times. And
I know.
died immediately.
Me too.
So the ghost matter will kill you.
Yeah.
But it seems that either the water or, whatever ore they were mining from Site 2B seems to be naturally protective from ghost matter.
There is still ghost matter on Timber Hearth, but it was up on the surface.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Very crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Okay. Now Dark Bramble.
Oh, I love this place.
This is freaking insane.
It's wild.
Maybe I should just explain
so funny.
really quickly what it is. So this was originally a different planet. I think this is that additional planet they were talking about.
Oh, I see.
But a bramble seed got planted inside of it and expanded and just so there's all these roots and branches, and on the tips of them are the what do you call it? The crust of that original planet. It's sort of grew from inside and just
pushed it
outwards.
And Feldspar says this can happen anywhere, because we mentioned, hey, we found a seed on another planet. He was like, dude, get rid of that seed.
Get that thing off.
Yes, it will
the planet immediately.
It will eat the whole planet.
Yeah, what happened here is going to happen on Timber Hearth. Get back there and freaking tell them, get that thing out of there. Yeah. So that's what this is. And these bramble seeds, these seeds that sort of expand and destroyed the planet, in the core of them is space where it looks small. It's contained in this small seed, but you go inside and it expands.
And so there's a fractal nature to the thing. Where have you ever seen those fractal images where renderings where you get closer to a thing and then it just becomes more things, and then you just keep getting old screensavers used to do this all the time, and you just keep getting closer and closer, but the pattern never really changes, and you keep experiencing the same thing over and over. That's what's happening here, and it's great that it's a seed, because a seed essentially is like a fractal. It's all of a tree contained within a little thing. And then that thing then grows a tree that then produces its own seed. So that seed doesn't only have the information for the whole tree, but it also has information for the next seed that tree will produce.
Yes.
Now I know there's the different gametes, but it has its own information that it provides, and of course it's informed by a different pollen.
Yeah.
But it still has its own information for that seed that then will slightly change depending on what else comes. So it's really crazy to think about.
Cool.
And then they're just kind of doing this whole thing here. And it's so crazy when you fly into one and you realize, because you fly into the more and more that you fly in, the more and more it's from an outside perspective, you're probably microscopic.
I know.
Very
you
quickly.
become tiny.
Yeah.
Or you would think, but that's probably technically not what's happening, but
well, no, because it's hard to explain what is happening, especially with the weird quantum stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it's mind-bending, hard to comprehend what's actually happening, which was what makes it such a cool sci-fi concept.
So it's just the bending of space and time is what's happening.
Yes.
It's just bending, magnifying, pulling, pushing.
Yes. In ways in which it would seem to the way we currently observe the universe. You're going into this tiny space and tiny space and tiny space, but it's actually not that. It's just that big space. It's impossible to explain.
Have you heard? I've heard. What's his name? Give me a sec. His name is Penrose. Roger Penrose.
Oh yes.
He talks about his theory of the Big Bang and how that kind of works, and he basically says that the once a universe expands and becomes really big, he says there's a way in which the universe itself can kind of. He uses the word forget. I hope people understand what he means there, but it forgets how big it is, and it becomes the point for the next universe because it's they say that the universe is expanding at an increasing rate, right? Which means that at some point it's just going to turn into a new explosion, a new Big Bang for a new universe that will be a bajillion times bigger than this current one, but it won't matter because scale is relative.
Yeah, relative.
And how many times has it happened in the past is what Penrose would ask.
This is all
crazy
going back back
stuff.
to Men in Black, dude. The universe is contained in the marble of the cat. Like,
That's right,
And it
yeah.
just goes inside and inside and inside and inside further and further and further. It's like macro and micro
I love
levels,
that.
infinite both ways
right.
kind of thing, right? That's basically what we're saying. So,
It's so cool.
yeah, that's Dark Bramble
Yep.
in a nutshell. And it's probably not the best explanation. But it's really hard
It's the best.
to navigate it because
It is, yeah.
there are these lights. It's very like misty. There's like a what do you call it?
Just a fog. I don't
fog.
know. Yeah.
That you can only see a very short distance in front
Yeah.
of you. But there are these lights. There's red light,
Red and white.
and then there's a bunch of white lights.
bunch of white lights.
And some of the white lights are cores of these seeds that take you into sort of one of those expanded spaces, right?
But some of them.
Many of them
Yes.
are anglerfish
Yes.
lights that draw you into them and then they try to eat you.
Want to kill you, yeah.
It's pretty freaky.
Very creepy.
We were
and the short
hoping we would
yeah.
be able to talk about this. This is going to go up on November 1st. What's the day after not Thanksgiving, Halloween.
Halloween.
And we were going to make it kind of a
Yeah.
Halloween thing because it's kind of scary, but I don't think it's scary enough to be a Halloween thing, but
Not
it is
quite.
freaky.
Not
It's
quite.
kind of creepy, but
It's creepy. Yeah, I actually found an interesting analogy with the whole anglerfish, but Feldspar, the way you find him, you have to use your little scope and like figure out where the sound's coming from. But it's coming from places that you
Yes.
then have to go into and then keep
Yes.
like searching.
Yes.
It's not as easy as the other places.
yes, right.
And eventually you finally go into the final, bramble that he's in, right?
Yes.
And he's camped out inside the mouth of a dead anglerfish.
Yep.
Which is so funny.
He's just chilling, and it's like
He's like, they don't
skeleton
attack
mouth.
me here.
And because they're territorial or something, so they stick away from
Yeah.
it. Which was weird because there's that one part where three of them were right next to each other. But
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was creepy.
But anyway, yeah, you go talk to him. He gives you some hints. He's funny. He's just got a funny personality, right?
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing about like our species in general. And this kind of goes back to
Very cool.
when the Nomai
simple.
described them as
Yeah.
being a hardy species. Like they'll hear existential threats and just be like, okay, like they don't give a fetch.
Right. They're not. They
They're
don't,
just chilling
They have
in
low.
the face of like crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
Like freaking Gabbro in his hammock when it just gets lifted into space and then lands
yes.
again, and he just continues playing his little freaking flute or whatever. What is he playing? He's playing
What is he? A clarinet kind
clarinet
of thing?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ours is a species that does not experience stress. Like,
No, they-
really at all.
they're chill about everything.
And it could be because the ghost matter killed all the natural predators, and
Maybe.
so they didn't have to like
That's a good theory.
have an
Actually,
anxiety response to anything. That does.
that is a good theory. I like that actually.
And they're well, I'm gonna guess they're asexual.
Yeah, they are, I think.
I think so, which means they didn't have to worry about mate
Yep.
competition
Yep,
either. Which
exactly.
means that basically all stress of life is gone.
That's a
you
really
get rid
good
of those
point.
two things.
That's a really good point.
You have no worries, and you can just kind of just laze around. Now,
now there is
how would they become spacefaring?
Ryback, who is afraid of space. He's
You're
like
right,
the
you're right.
one guy who
And then
seems
the guy in the
I guess
caves?
Chert doesn't want to go in the caves, but
Yeah. Well, but the guy in the caves at Timber Hearth.
Oh, he's him too. Yeah,
he didn't
that's
really
right.
care to this. So, okay, it's not exact, but most of them seem to be very
Chill about
just
it.
very chill, low levels of stress.
Right. But yeah, he records his crashes and talks about how what does he say? 2 crashes, 0
His boring crashes.
crashes. So
That one's so, and he's even mentioned several times. He did talk about that Giants Deep encounter with the tornadoes,
Yes.
and he said that he had a propensity for riding the tornadoes up into space,
Yep.
and that what's his name would always get mad at him
yeah,
for it.
like don't do that. You can break your ship
Yeah.
and blah blah blah.
And then, of course, one of the tornadoes
Took him down.
dropped him down. He's like, but don't tell anyone it was an accident. He's got this image he wants to keep up.
Yeah.
He's projecting this, I'm the first, I'm the best, I'm the coolest. And as we, read his diaries and talk to him, it's so clear that he has just like barely
fumbled his way through the whole
he's
thing.
fumbled his way all the way through to the point where he's at now, where he literally can't do anything. He
He's trapped.
He needs help. Yeah.
He's trapped here because he was like doing maneuvers to avoid these anglerfish. He got clipped by a branch
Yeah.
and then like ended up here. His ship's destroyed and he's trapped. but he's not worried about it. He's like,
No.
you ask him, like, should I go tell people, like, come rescue you? He's like, well, I guess, but, like, I kind of like it here. It's, like, peaceful-ish, and, you know, I'm kind of chilling out and taking a break. But when you think about it, this is the place the Nomai refused to go to retrieve their warp core because of how dangerous it was.
Yes, and you find out why. Yeah,
He's talking about it being like a peaceful-ish place.
Yeah.
And he's cool here.
He gets, because he's like, back on Timber Hearth, I got all these expectations I had to live up to. But here, I can just relax in peace, and I don't get to hear, and nobody gets to see me, and everything's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess I haven't done that yet. I haven't gone back to Timber Hearth to tell people, hey, I found Ryback, or found
I haven't either yet.
found Feldspar, and we should probably go save him. Also, get this freaking Bramble seed off our planet.
Yes,
I'll probably do that next time I load up a save. Just like spend some time in the village talking to people, see if things have changed. Because I haven't done that since the beginning of the game. I haven't talked to people in the village. So anyway, he gives you some hints about a jellyfish that is here. And how he found out how to get into the core of Giant Steep, the electrified orb where the probe, part of the cannon exploded and came down to. So if you hadn't learned how to do that yet, he basically gives you the hints. Yeah. You go and find the jellyfish and all that stuff you talked about earlier. He has like a note saying, do not eat this thing no matter what.
Do not eat this.
But it's so insulated from electricity. Yeah. These are all the hints that you would need to find out how to get in there. So that's about all I have for Feldspar's camp.
Okay.
Then Escape Pod 3. So there were 3 escape pods that tried to leave
this
from
gets
the vessel.
Pretty,
and
crazy.
Two of them, 1 and 2. One, I think, went to Timber Hearth. Or, no, not Timber Hearth.
The Twins.
The Twins.
Yeah.
And Escape Pod 2 got to Brittle Hollow.
Yeah.
Escape Pod 3 never made it out of Dark Bramble.
Right.
You use the distress signal that the other, which I talked about earlier, you had to have scanned those to actually get it, to have to be able to locate where it is. But you follow that signal, you find Escape Pod 3, and basically they were chilling out, like the Nomai in here, until they ran out of breathable air, or they were about to, and then they were like, okay, we got to get back to the vessel, but we're receiving 2 locations, like 2 distress signals from it, and it's the exact same distress signal. And they're like, that makes no sense. It's impossible. How can there be 2? And so this is your clue of how you're supposed to find the vessel, right?
Yeah.
So they say, okay, we only have enough breathable air to get to this one, which is closer to us. Right. So we're going to that one.
Let's hope 50-50. Let's hope that's it.
What happened was they came to a Bramble seed, which is... it's in there somewhere, but we can't enter this way. Yeah, we have to have entered from another larger seed, which has enough room for a ship to get inside of. So they basically suffocated. Yeah, they all died because they made the wrong choice of where to go looking for the vessel. Yeah. So you find their little grave with a bunch of them around. A bunch of them floating all over. And this is your hint to shoot your probe into there. Yeah, the little hole. And it will replicate the probe. So it's your ship is reading error. Your probe's like over here, but it's also, so then it's like, oh, it's like, okay, now I'll go that way, and then you find the vessel itself, but not until you've figured out how to very slowly navigate between like the tendrils of like 3 anglerfish right there, and it's like, oh gosh, you're like looking up and trying to like go between them without making any noise because they're blind, but they can hear. Anyway, then you get to the ship, the vessel itself.
Where it's like, hey, they didn't make it to the vessel, but it wouldn't have mattered much if they did.
Yes.
Because this vessel was in really bad shape.
Yeah. So, let's see. Eskel, I guess, was the name of like the clan leader or the captain of this thing.
There's a myth about Eskel, right?
Well, so... that's from the modern day.
Yes.
Nomai. So I heard that. That comes in a second.
It took me a while to realize that's who was talking. I was like, wait a sec. Oh, man. Yeah. That's him. That's our solar system.
You read basically, oh my gosh, our vessel is, we warped to the point where we thought the eye of the universe was supposed to be, and we encountered this freaking Bramble seed. We're like inside of this thing, and our ship's all damaged. Like, what the freak is going on? And it's like, oh my gosh, Let's see. We can send a message upon our arrival. This extraordinary signal appeared suddenly. It may disappear just as quickly. We can't lose the discovery of this incredible blah, 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 blah. Distress signal. This is Eskel's vessel. Something went badly wrong during our warp, and our vessel is mortally wounded. We need help as quickly as possible. Our vessel appears to has fused with the local environment somehow.
Yep.
There are vines that are now part of the vessel. It's been torn apart from the inside. We are abandoning our vessel. Any Nomai clans or spaceflight capable species receiving this message, I implore you, we need your help. Is this broken? Can anyone hear me? Our vessel is dying. We need immediate assistance. On the other side of the room, you come across messages, but these are from today Nomai, like literally the same time as our...
Which I've been wondering this whole time, like, are the Nomai as a race, are they still around? They are.
They are. And they send a signal out to all the vessels.
Yeah.
And it came to this one somehow. They can't seem to get messages out.
Yes.
Of here, but it came in.
Yeah, yeah. So the transmitter broke, but the receiver still worked.
Yes. Or maybe, no, that's not right, because we were able to receive the harmonica signal coming out of Bramble. So
I see what you mean.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just something broke in the ship, so they couldn't send a signal
I think that's what they mentioned. The transmitter broke, something like that.
So this is Canna, some modern Nomai out there somewhere. To any Nomai clans whose vessels can hear this message, it's clear the universe is dying. There are fewer and fewer resources and safe places within space now.
The whole universe, yeah.
So my clan and I believe the best option is for all of our clans to stay together. If you can reach the gloaming galaxy, where we've found that Black Rock's suns are fairly stable, and life in this star system is comparatively thriving. We live in relative safety. If you prefer to continue exploring alone, know that you will be on your own. Bromy says, Canna, we're making our way to you. Canna says, it's good to hear from you, Bromy. We'll watch for your vessel. Has anyone heard from Neem? His clan was on its way to our vessel, but they've never arrived, and he hasn't sent any messages. I'm beginning to worry. So Bromy says, that is unsettling. It reminds me of that old myth of that my grandfather used to tell me of the disappearance of Eskel, the Nomai who is the captain of this vessel that we're in right now.
Yep.
Clem, I remember hearing that story as a child. One day, Eskel's vessel simply stopped responding. The other clans searched and searched, but found no trace. It was as if their missing friends had warped out of existence.
This itself.
Was crazy.
Yeah.
Inside of Bramble space is outside of the universe somewhere, I think.
Sure.
It's outside of existence. This is why you can replicate things and the universe doesn't break and the game doesn't end.
Oh, very interesting.
I feel like whatever Bramble is inside, it's outside of the universe. It's some place outside of the universe. It's outside of existence. That's no myth, friends, says Hyssop.
Well, I've got an idea here that, the standard model of physics only explains superatomic but sub-black hole mass like objects, basically, that as we enter into Dark Bramble and we start entering into this fractal, getting smaller and smaller, as we descend smaller than the size of an atom, I guess, we descend down to the scale where physics kind of starts to break. I wonder if that's what's happening. But.
Yeah. That's no myth, my friends. Eskel's clan existed, and their story was real.
Yeah, but see, this is funny. I like this for the game. I like that they do this for us. But how do you know? And they even ask him, like, how do you know? He's like, I believe it. And like, oh, yes, that's fine. I get it. But it's funny.
It, dude. He has faith.
This would have happened a very long time ago.
280,000 years ago.
Yeah, this is like our myths are often things that only happened like
10,000 years ago?
Not that long ago.
Not even 10.
No, like
when does
3,000.
recorded history start?
Like 4,000 is
5,000 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe more.
Well, there was
like
the
ancient
Assyrians
Egypt was like 5 or 6
and stuff like that before them.
The Sumerians.
Yeah. That would have been like what,
5,000. I think it would be like around 4,000 to 5,000 BC. So it was like 6,000 years ago.
7, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, not 280,000.
Yeah.
That's a long time for a myth to have survived.
However, how are they measuring years here?
That's a good question.
Because it's entirely possible that on Timber Hearth, like that planet goes around that sun in not very much time.
Yeah.
And so
if that's a year, if a year's like maybe 5 minutes.
yeah. It's like a very short time. So anyways, I don't know how they're measuring years. I would assume it's similar to ours because they say 22 minutes.
Everything in this game's compressed, so
it is, except the minute. The minute is still 1 minute because they do 22 minutes to the Nomai is 22 minutes to us and to the what species are we?
I don't know what we're called.
Okay, whatever we are, whatever the personas we are. Anyways, we all have this concept of a minute and it works.
Yes. Okay, so what a curious event to have passed into myth. Our ancestors were told that story when they were young. Are you sure it's true, Hyssop? Hyssop says, it was a very long time ago, but yes, my clan's ancestors searched for Eskul's clan for a long time, but in the end, none of them were ever seen again. It's the only time in our history a vessel has ever disappeared this way.
Yeah, see, because I was going to say, like, dude, vessels go missing all the time. Why would you develop a myth around, like, oh, this one dude and his ship went missing one day? They must have disappeared out of all existence. Like, did you search every corner of the universe? Like, that they're gone?
It seems that they're able at least to get between galaxies, because make your way to the gloaming galaxy. So,
but anyways, they have ways of searching, I guess. But this has never happened before. That's crazy. That's wild. Like, the Nomai are very good and efficient if a ship disappearing has just never happened, ever.
Kyle's saying Hearthians. That's the name of our species.
Oh, the Hearthians.
Like Timber Hearth. Right?
Well,
Timber
that's
Hearth.
like Earthlings, though.
Yeah.
It's like anything from Earth. I guess Earthlings are humans, but like
I think
would a deer be an Earthling?
That term is used in the game, Hearth.
Oh, okay.
That's what they refer to themselves.
Oh, I always just assumed it was anything from Hearth, but I guess specifically us are Hearthians.
Hearthians.
All right, gotcha, cool.
So Neem, the person they were looking for just now, shows up.
Yeah.
I hope you're not comparing Eskul's story to my clan's vessel, because they were just talking about Neem's missing. Oh no, we're worrying. And that's what brought up this whole conversation. So Neem shows up. Don't compare me to Eskul. That's bad luck. Clem says, Neem, my friend, we feared you were gone. And then Neem says, not yet we aren't, but nearly. We found trouble during our warp. The triple suns of the bright spark star system exploded, and it was only a lucky coincidence we weren't caught in the blast. We'll meet you soon, Kanna. And then Kanna says, I'm relieved.
I have one thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Neem, they thought he had disappeared, but he came back, right?
Yes.
And they say that reminds me of this myth.
Yes.
Like the idea of a pattern, right? Like a pattern happening in modern times, it verifies a pattern that happened in mythology, right? Like if you see something happening now and like, oh my gosh, that's like this old story, that it lends credence, it lends validity to the old story.
Sure.
When similar things happen in your time, then it's like, oh, maybe that was true, right?
Yeah.
So that's a normal human behavior. I guess a normal Nomai way to kind of recognize patterns.
That's a good point. I'm relieved your clan is safe, Neem. It's good to hear your words. Any vessels nearby, remember to be extremely cautious of potentially unstable stars, which is most of them now.
Which is, that's crazy.
So, the only other thing that like I said, I sort of came to a place where it's like, there's more to explore in the vessel.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Because I feel like they're in that sort of bridge room or whatever.
Yeah.
There's some little balls you can move around.
Yes.
And it brings up this little...
It's like a triangular
block that you can create patterns with. You move it around and you can kind of draw shapes.
The coordinates to the eye of the universe.
Oh, my fetch,
I just now realized that.
You're right. That's where you put them in.
I'm going to go back right now, and I'm going to go put those...
That's it. You figured it out.
I didn't think of that. Only since you had told me about the coordinates being symbols, well, we'll see what to do with them. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought. I just assumed that the Hearthians would know what the symbols meant. Not until you, like 30 minutes ago.
That's it. Because that's a freaking...
Because it's a 3-digit
That's a...
pattern.
Yes. And that's a... It's a computer to put in coordinates so the ship can freaking go up there.
There you go.
Oh, my fetch. That's it.
That's so funny. It's like you get some pieces, I get some pieces. We come and we talk about it, and then we go back and we know what to do. That's the way the world is supposed to work.
Well,
I love it.
I'm going to go to the quantum moon anyways. But I have a feeling,
I want to go do that, though. I can't believe I didn't even think to do that.
Because I haven't been to the Ash Twin Project yet either. I'm guessing there's probably still something we're missing
And you
here.
gotta hit up Hollow Lantern just to check that.
Yeah. But I think we've specifically the way people are responding in the comments here, I think we just figured out how to win the game.
All right.
But
okay. Well, I've got another thing here.
Okay.
That I think I figured out about this game.
Okay.
And it has to do with the anglerfish. I was talking with Feldspar, and we were just talking anglerfish, just as one does, and he was saying, yeah, those anglerfish, man, they have this light that produces a signal that attracts people to it. But it's a trap. Mm-hmm. And then they just eat you.
Yeah.
And this was the thing that really did it in my mind, was that Feldspar says, those anglerfish, they're blind. They don't have eyes. They can't see. So what you think is an eye, as you go towards the light, turns out to be a thing that doesn't have an eye. There is no eye. There is just a beacon that gets you to go to a place so that a thing can then consume you and steal your time. Now, I don't know.
Wait a second.
I don't know what that means, but I feel like the anglerfish are maybe a microcosm of the game itself.
Yes, or of what the eye of the universe is.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So
it sends a signal,
but here's the thing.
And we're like, ooh, how intriguing. I can't resist.
The eye of the universe itself may not be nefarious. It may just be used by Bramble to pull people to it so Bramble can consume them.
Sure.
Whatever these Bramble seeds are, right? Whatever their origin is, whatever ghost matter, like we still don't really know that yet, right?
Yeah, there are multiple potentials that it could be, but I think that concept
they could just
why they came here.
They could have just latched onto, so to speak, the eye of the universe and used it to attract things there so that they could just grab them. So whatever ghost matter is, whatever Bramble seeds are, maybe that's what they're using the eye of the universe for. Because they've already been speculating on that. They've already been saying, what if the eye of the universe didn't call to us? What if what if it's
gone now?
Just talking to any spacefaring race? Or what if it's not talking at all?
Right.
We've made all these assumptions about it. What if it's nothing special other than just a lure to bring people here to try to figure out this mystery, and then ghost matter kills them or something like that. I don't know, man.
I don't know, because there's some evolutionary explanations for it, but I don't know how they would apply to this game, because in terms of like evolution, right? Like what does Bramble benefit from like these nomai that showed up there and just like a little bit, but not like cosmically, not like we're going to attract, because that would mean this would have happened many times in the past.
Sure.
Like, oh, there's tons of spacefaring races. We're going to attract them here and then eat them. And that's an evolutionary strategy, right?
Yes.
It's been 300,000 years and nomai and us, that's basically it. So I don't see that as like a viable strategy, if that's the strategy necessarily. Anyways, I'm trying to think through it, but I don't know. I can't help but think. I just had that revelation about the anglerfish. It's got to be relevant.
Well, then there's this whole... There's still a lot of mysteries that haven't been solved yet. Why are all the stars blowing up?
The end of the universe,
Yeah, why is that happening?
The nomai are pretty smart.
Because they think
it's the end of the universe.
This is not heat death. This is not
it's
the universe expanding so far away that everything dies.
Exactly. Heat death is where everything... Because this is what was it? I can't remember which scientist said this, but that the universe will not go out with a bang; it'll go out with a whimper, something like that.
Right.
But this universe in this game is
going out with a
bang. It's a fireworks show,
right?
So it's not heat death.
This is not a natural heat death of the universe that was described in the school district on Brittle Hollow. This is something causing it to happen,
right?
That the nomai didn't
going out with a bang now
because they were noticing it and they're like, fetch, like get to this relatively stable place. So they're not making that happen. My guess is it's ghost matter. Ghost matter is creating this problem. But then
the exploding stars just spread the ghost matter to the next areas, and I
think so.
It will eventually envelop the whole universe.
Or they're being carried on other what comets
and things, sure.
Random sort of like floating asteroids, planets, whatever. Yeah. And that's just a kind of expanding exponentially. But then they got the Bramble seeds. I mean, what are those, and how is that related, or are they related at all?
Yeah.
And how do you get out of existence by going inside?
That's the question. And at what point did you exit existence? Was it at this millimeters in, or it's probably not how it works.
When does a
I'm just
chair?
saying. Exactly.
Do chairs exist? All right. That's it for this week's episode. By next week, I think we'll have worked it all out. We'll finish the main game, Quantum Moon. We'll put the coordinates in and find out if we can find a way to the eye of the universe. And then we'll carry on after that the next week to the DLC, which I think comes from the moon of Timber Hearth. I think it starts there.
Okay, cool.
There's some sort of link you're supposed to create or something.
I haven't checked it out yet.
Anyway, we'll do that the time after that. So I think it's looking like 3 episodes to the end.
Okay, cool.
1 more for the end of the main game, 2 more for
the DLC. And okay, great.
I think. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Peace out.